Look at these light beams coming through the door.
Yeah, I've been looking. They're dope. Can you take your socks off for me?
Can I take my socks off?
Yeah. Where would you go?
Wait, you want one sock or both?
No, I'll make stuff like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Honey bunny.
Honey Bunny.
Honey bunny.
Honey Bunny. I wrote this one in full.
Yeah.
It was the first song, I guess, technically that got wrote for the album.
But it wasn't for the album.
No, it was not for the album at all. But it was the first one that was written
Yeah.
that ended up on the album. I wrote it acoustically in Zach's house when he was not there.
Was anyone home?
I didn't check.
I don't think anyone was home.
The door was unlocked and I went in. I don't really know if
What are you doing again?
I started writing it and I knew the vocals were going to be louder than I could sing in my apartment.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll see if anyone's home.
And no one was.
And no one was. And I was like, this is great. This is
Yeah.
perfect for me. But yeah, so I wrote the song just on acoustic guitar, like the entire lick and everything. Even the bridge I wrote just on acoustic, which is wild because the bridge
It's so heavy now.
is so heavy now. The song was kind of just like an homage to like how much I dislike people. Like socially, I just don't like them. Just in general, people
It's true.
aren't my thing.
He hates people.
Not like people that I like, but like everyone else I hate.
yeah.
Like, anyways. So the whole song's about hating people, but it's like kind of a happy-ish sounding song. So I really like the dimension of that. And I recorded it as like a video and put it on my Instagram at Gregor M. Dobson. Don't walk on by with that sly grin like you always tend to do. Yeah, so I wrote it, recorded it, put it on my Instagram. It got like 7 likes, and I was just so happy about those 7 people listening and liking it.
But one
of them was Jonathan
One of them was
Marino,
Jonathan Marino.
our drummer. And immediately the group chat like buzzed, and I looked and Johnny was like, that's a Dab Patrol song. This has to be a Dab Patrol song. And I was like, no, obviously it's not. It is like a finger picking acoustic, like we have an ongoing, Zach and I have an ongoing joke, just not a joke because it's gonna happen. But someday I'm gonna release a Gregor Dobson
No, you're not, man.
solo album. I've been saying it for 6 years.
Gregor has recorded. He's had me help him make so many Gregor Dobson solo
I have
projects.
so many albums.
EPs and albums and singles.
Um,
And just when they're like about done, he's like, "No, I'm not going to release it."
they're just never. They're never.
It's crazy.
It.
Which is why, yeah.
Yeah. So Johnny was like, "This is a Dab Patrol song." And I was like, "No, this is the
going-
first
it's going on."
single on the Gregor Dobson album."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Fine, but it's not. It's gonna be a Dab Patrol song." I was like, "No." So that was like a while, and every time I saw Johnny, he would bring up this song.
Yeah, and every time you weren't around, it was just the two of us. He was like, "We need to convince Gregor to make a Dab Patrol song," and I was mad too because I was like, "There's no Gregor Dobson album coming.
The
He's
song's
not
gonna be
actually going to
recorded
make
and
it.
just
Yeah, he's not going to
forgotten
release
about.
it. So let's make it a Dab Patrol song."
Yeah. So, anyways, after like a month of Johnny, and like Johnny was like aggressively being like, "This needs to be a Dab Patrol song," and then every time Zach and I were alone, Zach was like, Johnny's
Johnny's
really
got a
wants
point.
It should, like that should be a Dab Patrol song. So I was like defending myself against both of them, and then at a practice, at the end of it again, when all the good stuff happens,
Yeah,
is when we're like in a rush to leave.
yeah.
And Johnny looked at me and was just like, please, just play the song and let me drum over it really quickly. Because I wrote some cool stuff. I just want to hear it how it sounds, and I want you to hear how it sounds. So I played it, and Johnny did the drums that are on the song, and it was just like crazy, very cool like fills, and just some really awesome stuff. And we finished playing it, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's not gonna be a Davitrol song, it's a Gregor Dobson single. But I was slightly more convinced, and in my head too at this point I was like, that's a Davitrol song.
You got me.
But I couldn't let Johnny win that easily. I had to like egg him on a little bit longer. But it was like 2 days later that I was like, yeah, fine. So then Zach wrote like a really cool lead part to go over it, and Simon wrote some cool bass. But yeah, super happy that it's a Davitrol song. It's a favorite of everyone's. And like the recording process was super easy because at the point of us actually recording the album, we had played it a bunch.
Yeah.
One thing that I do that I know Zach hates is when I play the riff, I hit an open string, and I've always done it, and it rings out. And when we were recording, you looked over at me and you said, mute that string, and I said no. And that was the end of the interaction. But I remember that was like in my head, but you can barely hear that in the recording anymore.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, that was Honey Bunny.